Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builders Supply. This video is to bring you a closer look at the Donjo number EST-175-622. This is an extended lip strike plate is what it is. This happens to be what we call an ASA strike or an ANSI strike, A-N-S-I, or ASA, American Standards Association, I think. If anyone uses ASA or ANSI strike, they mean the 4 7/8 height is absolutely what is being inferred there, which means it's almost always for a hollow metal frame, although you can use ANSI or ASA strikes on a wood frame, naturally. You're probably going to if you've got mortise locks on wood frames. 4 7/8 is the height. This is an EST-175. The 175 is a tip-off in terms of the width of the strike, 175. Well, this is about 2 5/16 or so. Well, 175 would be 1 3/4. And that is because strikes are measured from the center line of the screw hole to the edge of the lip. And that is 1 3/4. You'll have 1 1/4 up here. You'll have 1 3/4 lip length is what we call that. It's lip length. And then 4 7/8 tall. And the ANSI strike, well, where are you going to use this? Let's talk about that right now. This is going to include a couple of screws and a complementary finish. And this being in the 622 finish, it's a black powder coat. Where are you going to use this strike? Let's talk about that now. Where you're going to use this is in a application that requires it, probably a hollow metal frame. Hollow metal frames are generally, almost always, prepped for the ANSI strike, the 4 7/8 tall strike. You can order hollow metal frames from your manufacturer prepped for T-strikes, which are 2 3/4, or full lip strikes, which are 2 1/4. Quite frankly, you can have them prepped for any type of strike that your lock or your locking hardware requires. But the ANSI strike, the 4 7/8, is not a made-up value. The height of that is important, and it's important because this is a strike for a cylindrical lock. Cylindrical locks, the center line on the frame and the center line of the door of the lock are the same center line, meaning of the latch bolt, with the exception of the fact that there's that 1/8 of an inch at the top. So if you put your tape measure underneath the header down to the center line of the strike, and then you put your tape measure on the top of the door and came to the center line of the latch bolt, those values are going to be the same, except the door will be an 1/8 of an inch smaller, and that's that 1/8 of an inch gap. They put that prep right in the center of that 4 7/8. Now, why the taller strike plate? You don't need a taller strike plate. You can live with one that's 2 3/4 tall for a cylindrical lock. But what if you have a mortise lock? A couple of things with a mortise lock. They need to move that latch bolt center line down. They do by 3/8 of an inch, in fact. Why do they do that? To accommodate functions that would have a deadbolt. That 4 7/8 is the proper height to squeeze into it, both the latch and the deadbolt above it. And that's why an ANSI strike is going to be extremely common. If you're doing mortise locks that take an 86 edge, 8 inch by 1 1/4 or 8 inch by 1 inch, you can do that as well, maybe 1 1/16. You're going to certainly have larger strikes because the dozens of available options and mortise lock platforms require that you have that extra room. That's the bottom line. So this client very likely could have used a smaller strike, but he most likely has a frame that's already prepped for an ANSI strike. Now, you're looking at this not for a lesson on what an ASA strike is. You're looking at it probably because you need an extended lip. I can tell you that the lip length of this is about 1/2 of an inch longer than standard. Standard is about 1 1/4, 1 3/16, something like that. This is about 1/2 inch. Now, where would you use that? Well, anywhere where you've got a door coming in and you're making premature contact with the rabbet of the jamb or the casing, or maybe applied stucco or drive it to the outside of the opening. Anything that's been applied, any change to the jamb cross-section where the latch bolt is hitting that work, that framework, casework, wall work, prior to it hitting the lip of the strike is where you're going to need to pull that strike lip out further so the latch bolt hits that. You'll find that a door may not even latch and close and latch properly if it's not hitting the hardware that it's meant to hit. Applications of that are going to be very residential applications, not that you'd use an ASA strike, but where you have exterior doors and someone sent out 4 9/16 jams, and yeah, they need to be 5 3/8 or whatever the case is. So they'll send out jam extensions, which are just pieces of wood that are attached to the outside of that. Well, two problems are going to occur there. Your hinges aren't going to sit flat. You might need raised barrel hinges, and your lip lengths are going to need to be longer. A longer lip length would come into play if you have an outswinging door that has brick mold on it. That brick mold is held back from the jam, but your latch bolt's projection is greater than the amount that it's held back, including the gap between the door and frame. So your latch bolt's probably going to hit that brick mold first. You could have the same installation where you have a deep inset. Let's say that you have an exaggeration, but a real opening, an 18-inch deep, thick wall, literally. 18-inch flat oak jams, seriously. The doors are set in the center of those 18-inch. Single doors. Well, you can imagine a huge cased opening frame, this big. That door is going to come in and it's going to scrape the oak all the way till it gets down. Very unrealistic yet actual example. That example was the original state capitol building in the state of Iowa, where there were actually pairs of doors, and that example goes with wide throw hinges or raised barrel hinges if you're only going to about 90 degree. But same scenario applies. You're going to have an inset that's greater. Either you're applying material to give it a deeper inset, or your door is literally set further into the rabbet than it would normally be. You know, if you've got a hollow metal frame and an 1 3/4 thick door, that rabbet's at 1 15/16 for an 1 3/4 thick door. Well, what if that rabbet was, 2 7/16 for whatever reason? You've applied material, like you've run drive it up to the face of the frame. It's the same kind of effect. Your hardware needs to compensate for that. Danjo is going to do a lot of several different extended lip lengths on their hardware in addition to custom sized material. This is in the black powder coat finish. Let's switch to the screen view where we can take a closer look at all the supporting information. If you've not hit subscribe yet, we would very much appreciate if you did, and hopefully you're enjoying this video. Now, let's get back to it. Here is the item that we are looking at. EST-175-622. Okay, we've talked about that at length. Extended lip, 13 gauge. It is made of stainless steel, and that it's powder coated over that stainless base material. Generally, the rule when it comes to powder coating is that you powder coat the least expensive base material. Not going to be a problem with strike plates generally, but I've had material flat goods powder coated in the past. I didn't specify the base material, assuming they would use stainless, and they powder coated aluminum, which worked for the job, but it wasn't what I wanted, so I learned, specify the base material. Dimensions, screws are included, which I showed you earlier. Matte black and sold as each. When you buy one, we'll ship you one. 1 3/4. That is a stainless strike, obviously. Product catalog. This is handy because you can search in this document the ETS-175. And sure enough, you're going to find all of the extended lip EST-175. That is a coincidence that they should have removed from the ETS and EST, two different part numbers. So the EST is a 4 7/8 strike. You can see the other extended lip that are here: 1.5 inch, 1 5/8, 1 3/4, 2, 2.5, 3, and 4. Those are the sizes available. This is a very old catalog, and they only list stainless and a dark bronze powder coat. Well, since 2015, when this catalog is published, black really started to become a popular color. Now, if you go back 120 years or more, black was the color. It was, lots of hardware was black. And it was probably the standard finish. Black was a probably very typical finish. There's been a resurgence, that's for sure, and practically everything is now available in some method of a black finish. Japanned or powder coated, etc. I'm not an expert when it comes to finishes, but there's different ways that black is achieved. Okay, so this catalog, we get to that page, but if you were to be interested in the other strike plates that Danjo has, well, this is the right place. Whether it be 4 7/8 or 2 3/4 or 2 1/4, you can see all the extended lip options that they have. They even have, it's not here, but they do have a form that you can fill out if you need a custom strike made. They can manufacture strikes that are custom. Every once in a while, someone calls us up with a requirement of a absolute custom strike. Actually, the last one from last week was an interior mortise lock from the late 19th century. An unusual L-shaped, an inverted L-shaped strike plate that has 2 holes, one for the latch at the top and then the deadbolt below. And the client only needed 2, and they elected not to order them because custom strikes are going to carry a custom charge to them. So it wasn't worth it to the client, is the bottom line, to not have strikes or to try to find them from some resale situation. Also on this page we have the template, which we can take a look at here. It gives you the dimensional drawings of what that strike looks like. Then there is a link as seen here to the manufacturer's page, and from here you can pull up not only all of the Danjo products that we sell by means of this horizontal navigation, but also a link to the manufacturer's catalog, and then that catalog broken down into subsections. If you know the name Danjo at all, you probably do for their wraparound plates and their latch protectors, but be mindful they have several other sections: bolts and latches, pivots, push-pulls, flat goods, stops, hinges, ladder pulls, door control devices as well. Let's wrap up this video on camera. If you've not hit subscribe yet, we would very much appreciate if you did, and hopefully you're enjoying this video. Now, let's get back to it. Okay, in conclusion, this is the EST-175 extended lip ANSI strike. If you have any questions on this or any other Danjo product, please feel free to reach out to us. We're happy to assist. The name Danjo is one synonymous with a relatively petite footprint of material within the industry, but many items that are quite unique. And if you are at all involved in the security hardware field, whether you're an installer or a specifier or an end user or someone who is doing a project where they're just right now increasing security on their openings, and then they'll probably never go back to that sort of hardware again, that catalog you'll definitely want to be aware of, because they have solutions that other people just don't. Any questions on this or any other Danjo product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you. Thank you for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, please click thumbs up, please subscribe, and maybe even send the video to someone that you know. Thank you.